Part 11. The whole is a riddle. The conclusion of Hume's Natural History of Religion, like the rest of the book, is overtly on the topic of the superstitions that are colloquially called religion. However, it subversively references skepticism, certain judgment, and our orientation as human subjects to the philosophical predicament. I consider it a primary precursor to the concepts and themes of this study, so I will quote it at length in my commentary. Quote, "Ignorance is the mother of devotion, a maxim that is proverbial and confirmed by the general experience. Look out for a people entirely destitute of religion. If you find them at all, be assured that they are but a few degrees removed from brutes." End quote. Interestingly, this passage provides a rebuttal to interpretation of Hume as some kind of proto-atheist. The use of the word brute suggests the regression to a Hobbesian state of nature if a human society were to find itself devoid of any religiosity. To be devoid of religiosity, and hence some kind of metaphysical certainty, even if it's manufactured from opinion, appears to leave us with merely the objective facts of our embodied experience. An earthly relegation devoid of any imagination. This also suggests that ethically there is nothing left but petty squabbling, and the will only exists to serve power over the other. When we are stripped of any deontological context by virtue of the ethical sanctification implied by religious modes of thought, we existentially relegate ourselves under the weight of the downstream metaphysic. Depending on the prevailing trends of the intellectual zeitgeist, ideological motivations, or material conditions, this leaves the thinking human subject interpreted as either a mere animal equal among the continuation of all life, an economic unit to be measured through the hard calculus of capital, resources to be exploited and disposed of without malice, or perhaps just an ephemeral self-guiding stimulus-seeking automata. All these relegated ways of valuing the human race are factual and can only escape through judgmental rejection of the stark, objective reality. Intellectual charity towards the human condition is only available through the devotive intellectual fog of religiosity. Quote, "What so pure as some of the morals included in some theological system? What so corrupt as some of the practices to which these systems give rise?" End quote. The explicit stated pure morals of dogmatic religiosity play out hand in hand with implicit corrupt practices. Dogmatism institutes values of ideal status that extend a normative hand from philosophical judgment, which humanity always fails to tightly grasp. The fallible human will always fall short of abstract ideals in reality. The ideals of religion are often imagined in human form, but remain only the myth of what a human can be. Quote, "The comfortable views exhibited by the belief or futurity are ravishing and delightful, but how quickly vanish on the appearance of its terrors, which keep a more firm and durable possession of the human mind." End quote. Any traditional religiosity, particularly anti-empirical superstition, is commonly critiqued as merely comfortable views, usually from an atheist perspective. A view, I stress, which is equally metaphysically dogmatic in its formulation. The dogmatic intellect, by virtue of its assuredness, allows for the equal potential of the appearance of terrors, as it does that which we find ravishing and delightful. This holds a wider implication for potentially all sub-questions, beyond what has merely arbitrarily been labelled a religion. The human capacity for implicit action enacted on embodied subjects, enabled by the firm and durable possession of a sub-question, is capable of any deepest level as well as the approximation of a heavenly ideal. For the historically knowledgeable, this is self-evident and spans not merely the dogmatic systems of religion, but also that of science, politics, consumerism, etc. This is the situation of the human subject. For our greatest tragedy and our greatest embodied triumphs are equally made possible by dogmatic stubbornness. Yet we cannot fully escape assoteric dogmatic cognition. Even the most iconoclastic of intellects are equally overwhelmed by the overbearing meta-question, must return to the confines of sub-questioning. Quote, "The whole is a riddle. an enigma, an inexplicable mystery. Doubt, uncertainty, suspense of judgment appear only the result of our most accurate scrutiny concerning this subject. But such is the frailty of human reason, and such the irresistible contagion of opinion, that even this deliberate doubt could scarcely be upheld. Did we not enlarge our view, and opposing one species of superstition to another, set them quarrelling, while we ourselves, during their fury and contention, happily make our escape into the calm though obscure regions of philosophy." End quote. If only a metaphysical miracle could enlighten our feeble embodiment, causing the scales to fall from our ignorant eyes, that whole, the prospective truth and the actual status of truth, would enlighten us to no longer be human. I still suspend my judgment on whether this would be a positive or a negative thing. Life without riddle or enigma would bore us to the extent that we would be driven to widespread elective death. It is precisely these mysteries and indeterminacy of existence, seen from our perspective, which makes life an adventure. Humanity finds meaning in its own incompleteness. The miraculous unveiling of the whole would leave us as homeless as an unemployed workaholic. The dogmatist is driven to fit the whole into the certainty of the sub-question. As Hume stated, this is due to the combination of the frailty of human reason, intoxicated by the assertive contagion of opinion. The iconoclast suspends their judgment and accepts that we are a metaphysical miracle short of this ever happening. Unable to see, let alone hear beyond the confines of their sub-questions, the life of the dogmatist is quarrelling without end. Anyone who has ever seen a debate held between differing fundamental axioms has experienced this. The only intellectual weaponry which remains is to increase the volume of the voice and incorporate insult within rhetoric. Although the life of the iconoclast is viewed as destructive by the intellectually compromised dogmatist, it is, however, calm though obscure. Nothing is more truly iconoclastic to rhetoric of dogmatism than to refuse rebuttal, to withhold the energy for destruction.